Well, hi. Today is November 12th, 2024, and this is another episode of Morning Coffee. Hi, I'm Todd Studer. Coming up in just a bit, I have been talking several times over the past couple of weeks about a new friend of mine that was recently let go out of the radio industry from 49 years. His name is Jamie Grout, and I caught up with him earlier, and I'll be showing you that conversation that I had with Jamie. Talk about his radio career and also the podcast that he started over in Newton, Iowa for the Newton community, and then adding another one in Grinnell. Jamie's a fascinating guy. And of course, 49 years in radio, you would have to be, but he's very, very well known in the radio industry, and I'm very happy that I get to call him a friend. I also want to encourage you to take a look at my website. Go to lushillsmedia.com. And from there, we're going to be releasing newsletters coming up very, very soon. And there's a place for you to be able to subscribe to that. So I would love it if you would do that. And also take a look because Sue Pitts with Just Sue Creative is the creator of that website. She did all of the heavy lifting with this. Occasionally, she would send me an email, a text, or give me a call and say, hey, what do you think of this? And I said, if you like it, I like it, because you are the professional. And she just did such a wonderful job. As soon as it went live, I sent the link out to a few friends, and I kept getting the same feedback. It was, wow, is this easy to read? It's very streamlined, and it really looks good and professional. And that's how I feel about it. So Just Sue Creative is who you want to call if you need a website built, if you need help with some SEO or any of that kind of thing. She's got all of her products and services available right there on her website at Just Sue Creative. So I would encourage you to give her a call. Also, be sure to make plans sometime this week to head out for dinner at the Mile Away. The Mile Away is on Old Lincoln Highway, north of Council Bluffs. Lots of great things going on. They're going to have Mexican night coming up tomorrow night, or Fiesta night. I'm not even sure what they call it, but you can get taco specials there. How about their $5 burger and fries? $5 for a half-pound burger, and it even comes with fries or tots. And that's every Thursday. And you can find other deals as well, including a 2 for $22 deal where you get one appetizer to share and 2 main entrees for $22. I'm telling you, it's great food and it's a great deal, and it's one of my favorite places to watch a ball game. So head up to the Mile Away, Old Lincoln Highway, north of Council Bluffs. Something else I've been thinking about recently is all of the support that I've gotten over the past year. I know that I'm kind of cryptic about my situation because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus with any of this. But after leaving a very short run that I had the last time in radio, it was less than a year, and it was just time to go. And I don't want to go into a lot of details about that because, it can just sound really negative, and I don't mean for that to happen. But a lot of folks were very supportive. And I heard from people as I was crawling under my rock to just kind of hide out for a while. And number one, I want to say thank you to these folks for all of the support. And also, it got me thinking about just how important it is to have a group of friends, a group of professional colleagues, folks in your life that will encourage you and support you with whatever it is that you're wanting to do, whether it be with a job, whether it be just a new hobby that you're wanting to try. I don't care what it is. Getting people in your life that are supportive and that encourage you to be your very best. Those are the best kinds. And I've got those that are always supportive. I have some that challenge me, which I think is very important. I was listening to a podcast recently by one of my favorites. His name's Ed Milet. And he was asking the question, when you're around these people, what version of yourself are you? Do they inspire you to be better? And if you have a group of people that inspire you to be better, then those are ones that are the most valuable. And if you're listening or watching this and you're wondering, I wonder if Todd's talking about me, then I am. I am talking about you. I don't want to start running down a list because I'm going to leave somebody out. But again, incredibly thankful, grateful, and all the other appropriate adjectives for these people that are in my life that have been so supportive, regardless of what it is that I've been doing. They've had my back, they've defended me, they have just known that where my heart is, and my heart is right here in Council Bluffs and the surrounding areas, some of the surrounding communities in Pottawatomie County and the rest of Southwest Iowa. That's who I am. That's what I want to support. That's what this show is all about. So just a heartfelt thanks to everyone. All right. Having said that, let's get over to that conversation I had earlier with a longtime radio personality from Central Iowa, Jamie Grout. Joining us now on Morning Coffee, the gentleman, whether he realizes it or not, is the inspiration behind this show. He is Jamie Grout, longtime radio personality in the state of Iowa. Jamie, congratulations on such a wonderful career. And before we get going, congratulations on being inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a DJ last year. I saw when that came out, and I thought, man, that's cool. That guy's been doing this a long time, and it's well-deserved.
Yeah, last Labor Day weekend, that was really quite an award, and it was overwhelming to me. I was surprised. I knew that there had been some people trying to get that done, but then when it actually happened, it just kind of blew me away. And Todd, maybe you can relate to this being in the business. I held up my trophy when I went up to the podium to accept my award, and I said, "Not bad for a guy who's been fired 7 times." And now let's make that 8.
No, that's just
49 years
we'll
in radio and
yep.
16 years in good old Rootin' Tootin', Newton, Iowa.
How has the community of New? Well, we should lay a little groundwork here because when Alpha Media went through cleaning house all through the Midwest, you were one of them that did not survive the chopping block. I know what that feels like. It's tough when somebody you never met makes a decision about you and about your worth, and
Right.
it's really hard. But that's what this industry is and has been for a very long time. I'm sure that you go back to when just about all of the radio stations were individually owned.
Right.
But now, when it's owned by corporations, they try to throw a blanket over everything, and not everything works the same way. It doesn't. What happens, even where you're at, what works in Des Moines is not going to work in Newton, Iowa.
Right.
There's a difference. It's not that one's better than the other. It's just different. But I think corporations forget that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it goes back to the Telecommunications Act. What year was it? 1994 or 92? I know
Yeah.
Bill Clinton was in office. And it basically said that radio companies could buy up as many properties as they wanted to, which was a problem because they ended up biting off more than they can chew. Plus, Todd, they didn't see digital coming along. And though they might try to be digital companies, they're radio companies first, and they just don't know how to do digital. And so to keep themselves afloat, the first thing to go are their valued employees, or maybe not valued employees, as the case may be. So many of them are talented, and it is ironic. You pointed out that I'm
Yeah.
wearing an iHeart shirt today. I'd always wanted to broadcast on WHO during the
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State Fair. Now, to me, WHO was like KFAB to you. I mean, I don't know, maybe it doesn't relate to you, but it was a
Yeah.
station
No.
I grew.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
going to
that's
say,
the WHO is the biggest. They've always been the biggest dog in the state. I mean,
yeah.
and I spent a good part of my career at KMA,
Oh, sure.
so which is more of a regional station than a
Yeah.
statewide. But WHO went coast to coast at night.
Yeah. Yeah. KMA, legendary radio station, where the Everly Brothers started out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still family owned from what I understand. So that's kind of
Well,
neat.
it's the May family sold it to a group of investors, but it is still local.
I see.
So it's a group of local people that purchased it, and
Sure.
that's the last that I've heard. Just about everybody that I knew at the time is gone. There's a few actually still left, but most, all the on-air staff has changed over.
Well, are you from Shenandoah?
No, I grew up in Northwest Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up in a tiny town in Pocahontas County.
Okay, sure.
So
Yeah.
that's, there's still nobody that lives there, and even fewer now.
Yeah.
It's pretty rural there.
When I was in Beatrice, I don't know if any of these names are familiar to you, but I did a road trip from the radio station in Beatrice, Nebraska on a learning mission to KMA. and I met Billy Oakley, who in those parts, especially for older folks,
Hmm.
is a bit of a legend because she used to have like a Happy Homemaker
Yeah,
show
I
on
know. Yep.
KMA, and
Hmm.
oh gosh, there are just a bunch of people that are legends there. But anyway, I want to get back to my shirt here real
Yeah.
quick. Um, WHO, growing up in central Iowa, Newton is my hometown. WHO was this, I don't know, you could call it, oh, just this big behemoth radio station. It was a kind of place that you would dream of working at. Two radio stations actually growing up. One of them was WHO and one of them was KIOA. And I did some fill in on WHO on Saturday mornings, thanks to a manager who has now left the business and with an ad agency. His name is Joel McCrae. And then a couple years ago, Maxwell Schaefer had posted on Facebook, and Maxwell did the morning show on WHO, getting ready to broadcast from the Iowa State Fair. And I posted that I had always dreamed about broadcasting from the WHO Crystal Studios at the Iowa State Fair, and a guy who I'd worked with here in Newton who went into news at WHO, Andrew Hope, and their program director made it so. So I did a couple hours on WHO from the Iowa State Fair, and they sent me this shirt. Well, I couldn't wear it very often working for Alpha Media.
Right.
I mean, they were the competition. Now that I don't work for them, hey, you know what? It's a love-hate relationship with iHeart because they're one of my
Yeah.
platforms. I don't know if they're one of your platforms on the
Mm-mm.
podcast, but they're one of
Nope.
mine that I go out to, so that's fine. But I can't stand them basically as a company because, for heaven's sakes, people in Des Moines, there's probably been a half dozen people in the last week or two that have been let go in Des Moines. And as a lot of people have said, it's death by a thousand cuts. Radio bit off more than they could chew, and they're trying to stay above water financially. They're billions of dollars in debt, whether it be iHeart, Cumulus, Odyssey, Alpha Media. You
Hmm.
know the drill, Todd, because you've been around it, and it's very frustrating.
But at the same time, radio stations that are individually owned, and I talked about this just the other day. So, folks that listen every day, and I do have quite a few folks that do, I talked about the Kohlers uh, up in Humboldt, Iowa. So, Kathy Kohler and her husband Pat purchased KHBT 6, 7 years ago. I forgot which, and they, even going through COVID, kept everybody on
Uh-huh.
staff, and were
Hmm.
able to do that.
Hmm.
They own just that radio station. They do radio there the way that you and I would remember going back. Now, my tenure started in the 90s. Yours started a little bit earlier than that. But how things used to be when you would serve the community that you're in. You are the voice of the community.
Hmm.
You are not just there because you're trying to collect money in every single place that you can. You go places because it's the right thing to do, not because it's the profitable thing every time.
Hmm.
And I think that with what you're doing now with your podcast, I believe that's why the community is responding to it, because you're still doing exactly what you believed in before. Give these people a voice, get these stories out, and allow the community to be able to support the people that are there,
Hmm.
because where else are they going to be able to do that? And that's what impressed me so much about you. So when I saw the success right away that you had with your podcast Out and About with Jamie Grout, and instantly it just popped into my head, I can do that here.
Yeah,
And then I decided that, you know what, if we're going to go for it, let's go for it. So I do, it's every day, and it's a morning show, and we get local people on. Sometimes it's just me trying to stare into a camera, but
yeah.
for the community has responded, and sponsors are coming on, and people are listening, and they are watching, and I get wonderful comments all the time about it, because that's what small market radio is. But now we've got a different platform. We have a different way of doing it.
That's right. Well, we both need to take our right hands and pat ourselves on the back because we have reinvented ourselves, my friend.
I think
And
so.
I posted on Facebook, I said, with all apologies to any friends working for iHeart or any of those other companies, uh, you need to be looking for another gig or reinvent yourself
Hmm.
because I think eventually the only person left in the building is going to be the janitor for some of these radio stations.
Well, and even
And
then, yeah.
I got to say, you mentioned the people in Humboldt. I work for a great family-owned radio station in Carroll. The Collisons have
Yeah.
three radio stations out of Carroll, and they're wonderful. And also the Koloffs, who own a bunch of radio stations in northern Iowa. And while they probably have a half dozen, maybe more radio stations, they're still a family owned company, and they're very loyal to their employees, and they know so much about being local. I mean, when I was working for Jim Koloff in Waterloo, I went down to a radio convention in Dallas. And I don't know if you'd ever heard of Kid Craddock or not, but in Dallas, he's a bit of a legend. And he put it on, and there was a idea sharing website called Bitfest or Bitboard Fest that you could go to and share ideas with other radio people. And so he had a convention down there. Well, he ran a video of his latest Kids trip to Disney World. He'd created this charity 10 years earlier. And, morning people don't always take everything real seriously and are known to joke and poke fun at things.
Right.
But when he ran that video, you could hear a pin drop because it was so emotional. And you could see these kids with smiles on their faces who had been through so much. And I came back to Waterloo and I talked to Jim and I said, "What do you think about doing this up in Waterloo?" And he said, "Well, let's first of all find out if there's a need for it." So I called some pediatricians and they said there was. And then I went back to Jim and I said, "What do you think? Should we try to get this off the ground?" And he said, "Well, maybe we'll get a busload of kids and we'll take them to Adventureland in Des Moines and that'll be the end of it." No, Todd, that's not how it worked out. We started talking about it on the air. Our first donation came from a couple of girls who had donated their piggy bank money
Really?
to what we called Jamie and Jim's Kids. And it's been going on for 25 years now. When I left the radio station, it became Magical Mix Kids. But for 7 years, I was the president of the charity, and we took over 100 families with sick kids from Walt Disney World, and we actually broadcast from there. And
Wow.
and I mean, they say there are no new ideas in radio. That's great because if it hasn't been done in your market and somebody's not addressing what's needed, hey, go ahead and steal it and take it, make it for your own. And that's exactly what we did. And they invited me back a few years ago, and I was totally honored by that. But I'm so happy that it continues to go and grow, and it's probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my 49-year radio career.
I also believe that the reason that these kind of things work is because of people like you who understand that you're there in a service capacity. This isn't about, you talked about patting ourselves on the back, but that's not why you're doing this.
Oh,
That's because you believe in your community and you believe that you have a role to play.
right.
And above all and everything else, it's wonderful that the sponsors have come on. It's wonderful that they support you. But my guess is that you'd be doing it even without them, because it's kind of ingrained into you over 49 years, in this industry. This
Hmm.
is what it is. Corporate radio doesn't understand that.
No,
They
they
don't
don't.
they don't understand that you can't just plug in a network jock who is sitting in, and believe me, I used to work for the evil empire, so I was one of those.
Okay.
I used to be on upwards of 80 radio stations at a time doing
Wow.
that, providing what is called localization and mispronouncing names and things
Sure.
like, because I'm not from there, so I don't
Hmm.
know, and people can sniff that out.
Hmm.
And there's something about it that's just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've got somebody sitting in a studio, where now I caught one just the other day that you did with, you were at a humane society or an animal shelter.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
And
A couple times a month, I go over to what's called PALS, which is the animal shelter in Grinnell.
okay.
And Alpha Media owned the radio stations in Newton. There were three radio stations, KCOB AM and FM and Energy 106.7, but they also owned the radio station over in Grinnell, KGRN. And they did the same thing in Grinnell that they did to Newton.
Mm-hmm.
They just got rid of their on-air people and any local programming. So I'm trying to address that need in Newton. Any good programmer is going to try to find a hole in the market that needs to be filled.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to do with my podcast.
And you're doing a wonderful job with it. And
Thank
that's
you.
why, as I said, the community's responding, because businesses do not advertise on a local small market radio station because they are going to see a direct return on their investment and know that if I spend X amount of dollars, Y amount of dollars is going to come back. That's not why they do it. They
Mm.
advertise because they want to support the local community and they want
Right.
to be seen as a support. You support your family, you support your community, you support your church, you do all of these things. These are very Midwest values, and that's what the businesses do. Now, you have given them another opportunity to be able to do that was taken away from them when some corporate, I don't even know where Alpha Media is headquartered at, but some
Portland,
place,
Oregon.
okay, so someplace far away,
Mm.
and makes decisions about what is correct because they're worried about the bottom line. I get it. It's business is about money. But when you stop delivering what it is that you promised, then that's the reason it's
Mm.
not working. It's not because Jamie Grout is drawing X amount of dollars on his salary for doing the morning show in Newton. That's not why. It's because you have forgotten what this industry is.
Right.
Small market radio is not large market. What you do probably wouldn't work full time in Fort Worth, but
Yeah.
it does work in Newton, Iowa,
Right.
because it's different. It's a different part of the world, and you fit right in that. And I'm sure how you started is not how it is now. You've evolved just like everybody else has. But see, I get on these soapboxes, especially when it comes to what has happened to this industry. It can still be viable,
Hmm.
and I have been very careful about my own experience here because there's a radio station here that I was running, and the station's still here, but a difference of opinions and a difference of how to do things caused me to no longer want to be associated with it. And that's why I can do this. And I can go out. I went down to the Masonic Lodge yesterday and sat and talked with the gentleman. And actually, it was 2 days ago, and learned. I was sitting right there in their community room, or where they have events, and got to learn more about it. And it's not as if I charge for that. I was down there in order to learn about them, be able to showcase some of what it is that they do. That's the kind of business that I want to have,
Hmm.
and let the sponsors come because of this. Not I'm not doing this because of the sponsors. It's the other way around.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're showing good community service there, Todd, doing that. And as you say, just echoing off what you had said, people will sponsor things that they feel is supportive of the community. The radio station over in Grinnell, um, they had an interesting business model in that they would charge for Bicycle Safety Awareness Week, Firefighters Week. There was Future Farmers of America Week. I mean, people would
Mm-hmm.
sponsor these things because they wanted to be involved in the community and support all these community entities, not necessarily because they thought they get a return on their dollars. Now, there are those that want that. I understand that.
Yeah.
And there are those who would say, oh, Jamie, I don't think, you move the needle on people coming in or people buying things because they've heard your podcast. There's going to be that. But
Right.
yeah, I echo what you're saying about people wanting to be community involved. There's a guy here in town, Ryan's Tire and Auto, who supports everything. He supports our animal shelter that we have. He supports our swim team. He supports our booster club. He supports everything. And he called me after I got terminated at the radio station and wanted to advertise because he knew that I wanted to be in community involved and he wanted to be a part of it. So, yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. I think the smaller market, individually family owned radio stations are going to survive because they know their mission. They know that what they need to do is support the community, and in return, the community will support them.
I am that's why you inspire me, and that's why I wanted to talk to you today, because and obviously it's always a help when you get around like-minded individuals. It
Yeah.
just it's an energy boost to be able to do that. And I know you get together with a lot of radio folks that you've worked with from over the years, and just getting together for breakfast or something to sit around and be able to talk, that's important. And I think there are a few of us doing this kind of work now. I think it's going to grow because, unless these small market stations are returned back to local ownership, corporate will never get it figured out.
Well,
And so that opens up a window and opens up a possibility for folks like us to come in with this platform.
yeah, the odd thing about Alpha Media here in town, after they terminated all the on-air folks, not only in Newton, Iowa, Grinnell, Fairfield, Fort Dodge, Mason City, they let the people go in at their stations in Minnesota and Missouri. And so I sent a message to my boss who remained at the radio station. I said, "Is the station for sale?" And they said no. And so that really surprised me. But I think, Todd, I'm going to make a prediction. There will come a day where the value of these radio stations are going to go down so much that they will end up being locally owned, and people will get them for way cheaper than what they would have a few years ago. And I think radio will kind of make a comeback then. I hope it does anyway. I feel bad, especially for the older listeners, people, let's say 55, 65 plus, who don't understand podcasts. They don't understand
Yeah.
even going to websites. I've had people come up to me and say, "I turned my radio on and I thought there was something wrong with the radio. I couldn't get you in. What's going on?" And I would, if I had the money, buy the local AM radio station just for the older folks who can't ordinarily hear the play-by-play of Newton Cardinal football. Now, you can find it on a stream out of a radio station in Knoxville, which is also locally owned, and that's about uh, 20 minutes down the road from here, but you can only find it on the stream. They have 3 or 4 streaming channels on their website. Can
Yeah. The
older
same
folks?
company
Yeah,
owns the stations in Perry,
is that
and
right?
they, they
Okay.
they do the same thing there. That
Yeah.
they stream games and they also have some on the air. Yeah.
But again, I think that gets confusing to the older listeners, and I feel so bad for them because they can't get it on their radio. So, I think there is a place for radio. I think there's a place for AM. I don't think it's going to go away, even though the car dealers and the car companies are
No.
not thrilled about it. I don't think it's going to go away real soon. I think it'll survive somehow. But radio now is in a tailspin, especially among corporate businesses, and it's very sad. I know it's probably that way for you too, because hey, that's a business we got into because we love it and we wanted to be on the air. I don't know about you. I played radio as a kid in the bedroom of my house.
I was doing play by play of my own shots when I was out in
Uh-huh.
playing basketball in the park,
Sure.
and I ended up doing sportscasting for a lot of years and thought that was going to be my career.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing at KMA, and then it life takes weird directions,
Hmm.
and you kind of go through the doors that are open.
I have to ask you, Todd, being in the Omaha area, are you
Mhm.
old enough to remember a guy who did sports on Channel 3 by the name of Dale Hansen?
Yeah.
Okay. Dale Hansen got fired at Channel 3. He ended up going down to Dallas, and he was down there at well, first of all, funny story. He went down to Dallas to the CBS station, and 6 months later, they hired the news director from Channel 3 who had fired him.
Oh
So
my.
he got down to Dallas and he got fired there. He went across the street, and then for 35 years, he was on the ABC affiliate as the sports anchor for WFAA, and has a big ranch now and everything. He started out in Newton, Iowa,
Yeah.
and at KCOB and out of broadcasting school. And I would call him every day when I was in junior high school and probably bug the hell out of him, but he never sent me away. He was very nice. He'd invite me to go with him to basketball games, and he'd invite me out to the radio station to help him out and pick records. And he even let me start a turntable once. And he just has been very kind to me. And so anybody that remembers Dale Hansen, I don't know what your thoughts about him are one way or the other. He's a good guy. Channel 3, I think, has always had the lowest ratings in Omaha. I think Channel 6 has probably been on top, and then maybe Channel 7 after that, and then Channel
Yeah.
3. I don't know if that's changed at all, but I know when I lived in Beatrice, that was kind of how it was. But Dale went down to Dallas, and he's retired now after about 2 or 3 years. But he's a legend. If you ask anybody who's ever lived in Dallas, Texas about Dale Hansen, they'll know who you're talking about. And he's controversial too. He's very controversial, says exactly what's on his mind, and you can find some of his editorials on YouTube.
Yeah. That's a route that I've never gone down as far as really when it comes to this particular topic. Yeah, I will give my opinions pretty strongly, but past that, I have always had a rule for myself. When I have one of these in front of my mouth, I don't say anything into one of these that I wouldn't say directly into my grandmother's ear,
Uh-huh.
because there's a good chance that that's what I'm doing.
Sure, sure.
I got my start in radio in Iowa Falls,
Oh,
and that's where my 98-year-old grandmother still lives there.
is that
So
KFIG or K
uh, KIFG.
KIFG? Okay, yeah.
Yes, they made a big deal back in the early 90s when their power went from 4,700 to 6,000 watts. And on an FM station, that's not real far, but it's still, they are still there. I'm not sure that the same company that owned the newspaper, I mean, they went together and ran out of the same offices for a
Hmm.
while. I haven't heard for a long time what that is, but I'm still the guy that was a program director and did the morning show when I was there. I'm still friends with him. He lives in Denver now. So it's kind of a tight community, I think, in radio. And there's something about it that keeps bringing us back. I mean, you said yourself, you've now been fired, 7 or 8 times. You kept going back,
Yeah,
and we just keep getting sucked back into it. I don't really know what it is that
yeah.
it's like in our blood and we can't let it go.
It's like a gangster movie, They send me out, then they suck me back in.
Yeah.
I would say uh, it's just the love for the business, and it's the love for being on the air and helping people out and making a difference in people's lives. That's been very, very important to me, and I'm trying to do that with my podcast now.
Yeah, I have said many times too that Don and Glenn were right. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Uh-huh.
And I think
Exactly.
that they were singing about the radio industry back
Yeah.
then. But uh, listen, I could sit and talk to you for hours, Jamie, and I am grateful that you took matters into your own hands and said, you know what, I can control my own destiny here, and you
Mhm.
did that, and the community's responding, and they are supporting you,
Well,
and that's a testament to not only you but also the community of Newton and Grinnell and everywhere else around.
Well, and I want to encourage, you know, possible advertisers that listen to your podcast, Todd, to get on board with you because I know your heart is in helping people out and giving people a voice in your community that might not have the voice otherwise. So that's vital. It's very important. And podcasting, people might think everybody in the world does a podcast, but still, I've been told that there are fewer podcasters than there are radio stations in the world. So there's plenty of room. The water's
Yeah.
fine. Come on in. Let's do a podcast. If you've been blown
Right.
out by radio companies, reinvent yourself and let's have some fun together and support the community.
Yeah, if you're one of those, reach out. I'm going to speak for you here, Jamie, but get a hold of us. Send us an email. We'll tell you how it's done. And because same kind of thing, we need to stick together. And I think that as this continues to happen, because I personally know more radio people out of work than are working,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so there's something there if it's something that they want to do, and so it's a very viable industry.
You bet. You bet. Well, we need to stay in touch, my friend. Maybe we can help each other out.
Again, very grateful, and we'll be talking again soon.
Sounds good.
I believe for a long time that there's a big difference between small market radio and large market radio, and the kind of radio that I was doing here was small market, and that it's a different style, and it requires a different type of person to be able to do that than a large market voice, because small market radio people really need to completely immerse themselves in the community and become a voice for that community. Large market, you're kind of doing a show, and you're doing a whether it be a music show or it could be a talk show or what have you, but you don't see them out and about quite as much. But with small market, you do, and Jamie is one of the best. And congratulations, Jamie, on such a successful run in radio. And I couldn't be happier for you that you have found success in a new avenue. And with the podcasting that you're doing, I've been watching, and I don't even live in Newton, and I'm entertained by it. So very well done. A big thank you to Cindy Schmader with Service Master Restore by Schmader. Cindy is one of those people that I was talking about that has always been very supportive of anything that I've done, and it's one of the reasons that she came on to be a sponsor here, because she wants to be able to support this community, and she also knows that when disaster strikes, you need somebody that you can rely on. And that's why Cindy has her business, Service Master Restore by Schmader. Whether it could be a flood, it could be a fire, or what have you, Cindy needs to be one of your first calls. Call your insurance agent and then call Cindy to come in and see just how much she can save of your personal memories. And you might be surprised at some of the fantastic work that she can do. So just go to servicemasterrestore.com to learn more. And also a big thank you to Carol Horner. And her book, Spiral of Accountability, is available on her website, and she made it very easy to find, spiralofaccountability.com. You can take a look at what the philosophy is, teaching businesses how to better communicate with each other. Sometimes it means having that tough conversation, and how do you navigate that? Well, Carol has come up with a formula and a plan that you can follow that can make everyone just get through some of the hard times and even the good times, because sometimes having conversations when everything's going good can get pushed to the wayside too. So Spiral of Accountability is the name of the book. It's the name of the website. And I encourage you to go pick up a copy, and then also take a look at, if you have a business, you should strongly consider having Carol come in and speak. We want to thank her for being a huge supporter here of Morning Coffee. Speaking of coffee, I got to head out the door. I know that these are released at 6 a.m. So if you're watching it later in the day, event is already going to have passed. But at 8 o'clock this morning on November 12th is a Coffee and Contacts. It is through the Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce, and this one is sponsored by the Council Bluffs Business Connection. This is a referral group that meets at the Chamber of Commerce in their conference room every Thursday. And these folks are some of the best people that I've ever been around. It's definitely, for me, the best referral group that I was ever a part of. And they're hosting a coffee. So if you'd like to meet some of them and you're seeing this first thing in the morning, it's going on at the Chamber of Commerce office on the 100 block in downtown Council Bluffs from 8 until 9:30 this morning. And that's where I'm going to be at, and get to see some old friends and drink some great coffee from Jay's Coffee, and be able to network and socialize a little bit with other entrepreneurs in the area. That's going to wrap this episode of Morning Coffee. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great Tuesday. I'm Todd Studer. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.